Another episode of NRG Insights. And this is a podcast where we talk to people in the mortgage industry, whether that be lending, broking or partners, just to go through, as it says in the title, any insights, anything interesting in the market at the moment, and people who have influence in the market. So today I've got Jamie Lewis from Affinity. Thanks for joining me, Jamie.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. No, we do think we've done this before, don't we? But we talk on
We
Teams
do.
before, so we're not sure. So I think you're getting closer to your hat-trick ball. But so for those who don't know, tell people about your kind of your financial services journey to where you are now.
Oh, well, thanks. I started in financial services about 20-something years ago, too many years, lots of grey hairs in between then and now. I started as a mortgage broker in the back of an estate agency office following an estate agency career. I went into a couple of larger businesses and then decided in 2007, brilliant timing, to go on my own. So I started about a month before Northern Rock had a run on it, and then traded my then business through what was a small blip in the road, being the global financial crisis. It's magical. Magical stuff. Yeah. Superb timing, yet again.
You know what? I know businesses that grew in that were born out of that, and some of my best clients were born out of the travesty that was 2008.
Yeah, I try and talk about it. I don't know if you ever watched Forrest Gump. This is the worst analogy in the world, but I feel like I was Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump when they were sailing through on the boat, and he had something like
flags,
yeah, exactly. I was like, come on, I can do this. So that's the analogy I use, and whether it's right or wrong, but that's how it felt. To put that into context, but yeah, so I did that. And then I met with an old colleague of mine who was in one of the previous businesses, and he sort of suggested that we never went on holiday without about 30 case files, because that's what you did back then. Yeah. And you were running your cases from wherever it was, I was losing time with my family at the time. So it seemed like a good idea to me to start something else with a partner, and that was Affinity. So we started that, I think it's 12 years ago now. He decided about 5 years in that he was going to go another direction, and I continued to run it from there on in, and now we find ourselves as a bit of a voice in there. Small mortgage brokerage, but mortgage protection, specialist finance, business protection.
You've got a few arms now as well, haven't you? You've got a few pillars to the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
There a bit with your small brokerage. But...
Yeah, well, no, that's right. What we did was we went linear in terms of our growth. So instead of just growing numbers inside one part of the industry, what we thought was, right, let's attack all the spaces that we're really interested in. So private banking being one of them, business protection being the other, and obviously the mortgage mum, which we've got to talk about, was part of that journey as well, and that was a side hustle that grew quite big. So
a big one. So in regards to the different pillars, has that made a difference to you in these more challenging times? Do you think
100%.
Do you think that's kind
100%.
Set the lights on?
Yeah, 100%. I think because we niched in certain areas outside of London. I'm not suggesting that other people don't have private banking arms or that sort of stuff.
But what we try system there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But what my goal, my dream of Affinity was that if anybody walked in wherever they were on life's journey, we'd be in terms of debt and protection, we'd be able to help them, and that was the dream. So then it was about trying to create it, and that took time. I'm not going to lie, and to find the right people who believed in that same sort of journey. So that was sort of where
Let's touch on that actually, because you just said it takes time, right? I don't think people appreciate to grow something takes ages to get it right. Takes a while to get the right people, as you know. Like you said, it's tough, right? I think people assume you just start a business and then you get a few good brokers. And
that. I would say I think we live in a world where we all want stuff now, right? And there are lots of self-help guides and business coaches who are like, right, this is just a numbers game, and model your business for the next 5 years, and then what you don't take into account is human beings. Yeah, 3 massive bumps in the road. So I think you've got to work that through, and you've got to live it and breathe it for a start, and then see what comes out. I know you're a sportsman in the past, and I was a sportsman, and you can't say, we're going to win this game 5-0, or we're going to score 20 tries this time. You just got to see, you can prepare really well
Yeah.
and then turn up. And as long as you've done your preparation, you give yourself a great chance of winning. But who knows what's going to happen in 90 minutes, right? Or 80. So that's sort of what it's like for mortgages. So I would say, for me, mine has been a growth with the people around me. So we've grown in a,
Core, aren't you? Like
yeah,
I know
like
there's 6 or
the
7
best.
people who I always see who are solid, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
any business that succeeds generally has, like we do that. We lose people. We try our best to keep as many people as well, but we've got a solid core of 5 or 6 people that go to war for us. That's what you need.
Yeah, ethos, belief, ethically, morally, the right human beings to do that with you, and you look after them, and they look after you, and that's the way
Keeping
that.
them happy.
Yeah, exactly, right. And we're all in, right? We're all in. That's what it feels like. Friends, it feels like family. Obviously, there's business involved, so that requires tough conversations sometimes, both ways. I don't get it all
always say
right.
we're like family because we don't listen to each other, and you can't get
Yeah.
anyway. And we don't. We don't
Leave
like
your
each
stuff,
other.
leave your staplers on the floor in the bathroom and stuff. Yeah, I got it.
I do like your bathroom posts.
I know, mate. Oh, honestly. Anyway, so yeah.
Let's go back through this. Obviously, you exited the Mortgage Mum recently.
Yes, yeah, I did.
That's been well publicised. So talk to me about that. So,
Yeah.
how did that come about?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think when Sarah and I got involved together, it came at a time in her life and mine. She was obviously, again, well documented. She was a broker within Affinity. She could sing a bit, apparently. I always thought I was slightly better, but she takes that accolade. She went onto The Voice, came off it, and as a friend at the time, it was tough to watch her go on a bit of a crash. At that point, it wasn't what she'd planned it was going to be, and we'd sort of blueprinted what the Mortgage Mum was at that stage. So it was like, right, okay, well, look, I can help her, I can lift her up, we can start a business here and see what goes on. And the original plan was, being honest, was I was going to run it, and if the singing career took off, she was going to fuel it with marketing. So that was sort of the original plan. Obviously, the singing career didn't go quite as planned, and then Sarah came into the business. So it was always a thought that, I would sit in the background of that business. Obviously, I was involved pretty heavily with recruitment and pretty heavily.
You've got private banker finance and that kind of thing as well on top of.
Yeah, I've got layers. I think with private banker finance and business protected, I very much have managing directors in those areas, so they take the weight and come to me, and we will decide on their journey. But I leave those decisions with those managing directors because that's their power, right? And I don't know their areas as well as they do, so that's why that's important. And probably the same with Mortgage Mum to a certain degree. Although I did feel like I was much more hands on within that business. But there was always a thought really that it was always going to be, I stuck out like a sore thumb. Let's not be, let's be honest. I was one bloke in 30 and but it was wicked.
Spot you in the photos. That's the main.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. Well, that's good. I mean, that's a positive from my perspective. Yeah. Thank God you could. Yeah. There was actually in the exit. I did an exit video to the girls, and there may well have been a picture of me in a Mrs. Doubtfire outfit, but that is never coming out, I hope. So
I'll find it.
I know, yeah, you probably will. I know it's somewhere.
Picture for this podcast. That'll be the front.
I could. Oh, you don't want it, mate. But yeah, so look, Sarah obviously went away. There was talk about what she was going to do when she was away, and not away from the business, but obviously she went to have maternity, well publicised maternity. And then when she came back, the conversations were very much like it'd been a heavy year, and I felt like I'd sort of taken it where I could take it, and Sarah wanted to move forward with it. And we had super friendly discussions around it and what the exit would look like, and then the exit happened. So it was all friendly and all good.
Good. And obviously, like you said before, so I want to touch on something because you mentioned them. So you've got MDs and decision makers in the other side of your business, even though are they still part of Affinity? So private banker finance, how does that work?
Private banker finance is part of Affinity because that is a brand that sits underneath us. Look, we've always worked with other brokers as Affinity because we always have. We're not one of those who look. We're team players. We're not one of those who's going to strip the data. We're not about that because of the way that business is set up. You can see it in the way that we transact, who we are, what we do. So we're very much want to work with other people, want to collaborate, because I feel there's power in that. And if we collaborated with one person over those years and then we tried to nick their client, that would be the last time. That's it, game over.
It's the reputational thing, isn't it? It's like us,
It's
how
done.
long you've been in the market.
Like,
If it doesn't take long, it takes a minute to lose your reputation, doesn't it? Same
It,
as
it,
that
it, it's done. And we've done that. We've had that done to us, where we've gone off to a packager, given them our client, and then find out that they've re-bridged it or reworked with them. And you're like,
lenders, lenders I mean, a couple have been up in arms recently about taking developers out that have come from brokers and explain they get a cheaper deal. It blows the short-term thinking, I think.
It's minging, and maybe that is the power shift and this AI whole piece. Maybe they don't need brokers anymore. But I still think relationship-wise, like, we work really hard on relationships, as do you, over a number of years, and you build that equity with a client base. And so that for us is what we do with private banker finance. Business protected is its own business. It's separated, and does its own thing. So. It's interesting, the two models, as was Mortgage Mum. Mortgage Mum was something separate, but private bank
you sit on the board of the others. Then you have the meeting with them, and that's it. You're right.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly how my weeks go. And I suppose I have a vision for how I see them and what they could be. And I will apply that inside the businesses with the MDs.
It's still the same vision, right? You've all got to buy into that journey. It's not like someone just go off on their own and go, I want to do this.
No, not at all, not at all. And there's accountability there as well, for us, for him, for me, for the others, for the other people around me. So so it's all good.
Good. And how's it been? I mean, obviously, no one's been smashing it, right?
It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I went to the B&C Awards the other day. I tell you what, it's quite a relief. As much as I mentioned to you, I've been on a 2-day recruitment conference, and I thought it was going to be full of dick swinging and everyone telling everyone how great it was. And I just thought, I'm not up for this at all, because I love financial services, don't really love the recruitment people. But it wasn't. And I think it's the same as the B&Cs the other day. Everyone's just going, it's been fucking tough. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
No one's really, I mean, a few people have done okay. If you're smaller and you can pivot and that kind of thing, but it's been a challenge, right? I mean, how do you keep everyone motivated? Because we're not making as much money as we were.
No, I think that's been a challenge, right? I mean, I've been through it before, but I was nimble and I was small and I did it myself. And so when you've only got yourself to look after, you've got to get up, you've got to do the thing. Actually, I would say probably the hardest period of my career has been keeping everybody buoyed up through this period. And I would say,
people have said that, this is the most challenging time. I spoke to someone the other day. It's the most challenging time in 27 years, and obviously we've been through some shit in that time, right?
Yeah. For me, like, COVID was tough, but I think
people make money.
We were held up in so many places.
Yeah.
This one is like, okay, work twice as hard for half your income, pick the bones out of that, right? And oh, by the way, we're going to try and take, our lending partners have gone, well, we're going to try and do as much business we can direct. So you're like, brilliant. Thanks for everything. Look, it has been super tough. It's definitely taken a chunk out of me somewhere, somewhere along the line as well. It was funny. I was asked yesterday. I was somewhere, and he went, "Oh, where do you sit in Southend? Like, do you think you're like the top dog?" And I'm like, "Do you know what? Anybody who does this job, I've got full respect for. I don't even care whether they work for a competitor or what they do. Like, I would shake their hand and go, mate, what you've just been through, fair play.
It's tough,
It's tough.
Do you know what? It is quite enlightening when I go and speak to other people in other industries, because people have had it tough as well. It's not just us. The recruitment thing was really poignant for me, because obviously you got guys coming out of tech who literally the industry's disappeared. So we've all had it bad. It's been hard for everyone, but we know it's not just us. It's not just you. It's the world had less money to spend. Right? It was just
100%.
Unless you're in life sciences, apparently, or that kind of recruitment.
I did promise myself that if ever there was an exit, I would go into a business that was always needed. So I was like, funeral directors seem like they do all right.
Do you know what? In all seriousness, though, insurance isn't a bad deal, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what, especially business insurance. If anything more now, you've got to have your arse covered a bit more.
And that's a super exciting part for us. Like the duty played into the industry's hands. All of us, we should have all used the duty as a main, like, right, okay, this gives us a chance to really professionalise what we're doing around that. We always did that. Like as a small firm, as we were a growing firm, whatever. We always recognised that splitting that process between mortgage and then a protection conversation, not sale, conversation with a client. But should that stop with, you're a director and shareholder of a business, you come to me for a mortgage, should that stop with me protecting your family? Or actually, is there a broader, deeper conversation here of protecting your business, right? Because without that,
business is again protecting the family again, isn't it?
it's a whole ecosystem of stuff. So we just took that really seriously. Within Affinity, we broke business protection away years ago and knew that it was successful for our own clients. So then it was trying to broaden that and say, okay, well, look, it's a long-winded sale. There's not as much.
You think that's why people don't do it?
With the protection conversation, I can say to you, Marcus, you're gonna complete on your house in 3 months. We need to do this now. But by the time you're going to be liable. With a business conversation, it's like, well, look, I'm all right. I'm not going anywhere. My partner's great over there. But of course, things change very quickly. And it's something that, we just need to all highlight and all grab hold of and try and, move it forward as we can. And that's why Business Protected is there for other individuals. No.
It's great advertising. It is a good model, though. It's a good model just because if someone's talking to your client about anything, they're going to ask them about their mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Keeping everything in-house, it's the same. I mean, we can't be jack of all trades when it comes to recruitment and that kind of thing. So we know there are bits that they have to speak to other people about, like IT. But that's frustrating because that person is asking, they're in with your client, aren't they? They're in speaking to your customer.
100%.
So keeping it all in-house makes sense. It's also a nice multiplier if you're ever selling, not that that's relevant, but if we look at the companies that made the most out of the flogging the businesses, the guys that are doing commercial insurance and having other strings to their bows, it does increase your multiplier, doesn't it? Because it's transactional.
And I never looked at that while I was building.
No, that's not what you started.
It was quite sensitive. But now my eyes are totally open to it, and and I still think there's other strings to go. So I like to do a full 360. I think there's other places. So.
Good. So let's talk about the IPFA side of things. Talk to me about that. What's happening? Do you call it? Is it IPFA or is it
IPFA? Yeah, I mean it's the longest. It's the industry panel for financial advice. But it's IPFA seems easier. I think it's another industry acronym that everybody's going to know, obviously. We basically IPFA is something that SBG, Sesame Bank Group, another acronym, created a number of years ago. Its old guise was the Diamond Club, and basically formulated their top firms, their top tier firms. And when I came on board with Sesame Bank or PMS as a mortgage club, because we're a directly authorised brokerage, when we came on board, they said, look, we'd love you to be a part of IPFA. And I didn't really know what it meant. But I thought, well, that sounds like a nice thing to be involved with. And it was they sold it to me as a space that was collaborative, that would bring these firms together and what have you. And then I went as the owner of a business that had about 25 people in it, and as a director of and shareholder in the Mortgage Mum. And I went along to this thing thinking, just let's go for it. Let's see who's in here. And was really wowed by the length and breadth and the quality of the people I'd never met. They may not go to the awards or turn up at the golf courses or all the places that I would be. Well, they're the two places I might have been, and now it's probably only golf courses. So, but anyway, they were nowhere where I would have seen them. And these people are, and these business owners are just like powerhouses. So the idea was bring those firms together, talk very high level about what is going on in the market, really talk about what the banks are seeing, what the providers are seeing, and giving that, and then having a holistic nationwide view of that, and doing it in a safe space, which meant we could share really openly with other people who had businesses bigger than ours, and some people who come in have businesses that may be smaller. And we share our ideas, and we have a very open discussion around it.
Benefit, I mean, I want to touch on that again, only because it's really poignant, because I've just come from a 2-day recruitment conference where I don't really hang around with recruiters, so I hang around with financial services people, but I've just been sharing like best practice and you know, everyone's like vulnerability and stuff that we behind closed doors, and not the dick swinging that you expected, and the actual, you know, sharing of ideas and stuff. So it's really poignant. But what's the benefit to the industry, if you like, of these guys getting together? Is it are you getting more people involved, or is it?
I think it's a pretty. It's not a closed space, but you have to bring something to that table. And you know what we've got is that collaborative space. So I think someone would get found out pretty quick if they came in there and they started taking the ideas of someone else and coming out. You know, it would be a bit like, well, that's not really what we're doing here. And to keep that safe space, you've got to almost be. You've got to have that in the culture and the value and the mission of what we're trying to do at IPFA. So for me, you know, that's important. So but that's down to them to make a decision around. In terms of what I personally like, it's having a safe space to just go, I'm struggling, guys. Like, and they're, you know, that's such a powerful thing.
I don't think it happened as much. I mean, obviously you've got like your Amy's and stuff as well, but I just don't think it happened enough before. Obviously, I'm in recruitment, so I speak to every business owner, and I get constantly going, oh, what's happening with everyone else? Or, you know, I'm struggling. How's everyone else getting on? I thought, how do you not know? But it's because I don't know about recruiters either. It's because we're insular in our business. I love talking to other people and finding out, and especially in the challenging times, I think that collaboration is so important. And even just to know that someone else is going through the same shit as you.
It's absolutely vital, and also I think as an industry we've been brilliant at showcasing certain individuals across the industry, putting them on a platform, giving them a platform, and you know, perhaps a little guilty, media as well as ourselves, in listening to the same voices. When actually, for me, you know, I want to cut through that, because sometimes the quiet guy at the back is sort of, he's got something to say, but he just hasn't got a chance. So for me, that's what IPFA has allowed. There's a couple of firms in there, 600-700 advisors. Like, I'm just wowed by that. Going like, how have you? You know, the most down to earth, quiet people. You know, I know we spoke about that, and you're like, I don't even know these firms. I'm like, well,
you know what you were talking about when you were telling me how people they got, and I'm like, I don't even know that guy. And I think I know everyone in the industry.
And because they're not willing to, they don't need to step forward. They don't need to say any more.
Yeah, big businesses. I'm not like they're incredible.
So it's important for me, and that's really what we're trying to showcase, I think. So.
Yeah. So, and what's the vision for that moving forward? Is it growing that side of things, or is it being
I think that's the plan. Is that there's brokerages in there in the north of the country, in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, in the south of the country, in London. It's not all just centred around a London brokerage they turn over the most money, so therefore they're going to be the ones who talk to us about everything. I feel like when we're, you know, and again, a lot of the media stuff that comes out from a very regionalised part. I'd be interested to see how regional that was, because I reckon you could throw a blanket over the people, you know, in terms of where it is. You know what I mean? So for me, you know, what we're trying to do, or what I believe is, from what I've seen, is that IPFA can be a voice of, a nationwide view of what the mortgage industry and property industry look like. And I think that's the bit that's vital. I know networks have that, but networks are very much, you know, they're never gonna put a stake in the floor and go, well, this is what I think. Whereas at IPFA, that is what these firms do.
The collective opinion.
A collective opinion. Because again, you know, we talk about buy to let as an area. Down south, we're like, doesn't work, doesn't fit, nothing works, like it's dead. My colleague who's in Newcastle was like, I'm buzzing, I'm absolutely flying up there. You know, I'm like, well, how have you? You know, but that's the difference. But if we're taking my opinion on what that is, then of course it's going to be
across the country screwed.
Going to be blinkered, right? So it's important for us to try and do that, and really I feel it's a perfect time for it for those firms, and to showcase the guy who's at the back who nobody knows about, because he's got loads to say because he's a successful guy. So
Yeah.
or girl,
Like you said,
or girl, and girl.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just another boys' club, right?
Not at all.
It's just
Not at all.
it sounds it, and genuinely, when you talk to me about it, I do think you need that sort of, especially, I know I harp on about it, but it's poignant at the moment, just about collaboration, and I mean, it's good generally just for your noggin to know that, you know, the other parts of the country, everyone's the same, or everyone's in the ship. Some people are getting out of it, or this is how we are getting out of it. And people are willing to give as well. I think the one trait, and obviously no one gets paid to come on here, so this is proof of the pudding. This is the way I drop it in. No one gets paid, but including me. But what it means is that people are willing to give value, right? If you're successful people, a general trait of successful people is they're happy to help.
Yeah.
And I think things like that are only good. I was talking to someone the other day, the same thing. It's an Amy thing about mentorship.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it thinking that some of these people weren't taken up on the mentorship, and looking at the names on there, I was thinking, how the fuck? Maybe they don't know about it. But if I was a new business, say like, and I got an incredible recruiter to give me, I'd be all over it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to kind of snap up those opportunities as well.
100%. I wouldn't. I think we spent so long. Certainly in my early career, and when I started this, I spent so long, looking at where I could get to, but going, I don't need help. Actually, that help, and I try and give that. Like, I'm a big supporter of others. I think there's enough business for everyone. I'm a big supporter of other people, because I know what the journey's like, and I enjoy it. I really love it. And if they take my advice and use it, great. If they take my advice and think you're a bit of a noggin, whatever, fine.
You've given it, right? You've done it. You've done your job.
Equally, I'm only telling you what I've seen on that journey. If that helps, that's great. And if it doesn't, then that's cool too. I haven't got all the answers myself. So
do you know what? We have that similar conversation, because I say to people, like, we help grow mortgage brokerages or lenders, whatever it is. We've done. I can't tell you exactly how to do it, but this is what has been successful, and I've seen it done loads of times. So take the advice or don't. Yeah. But this is what works. And this is, in my opinion. But I mean, people might go against our opinion and might grow fantastic brokerages. We don't know everything. We can just go off in our experience. This is what happens. But
100%.
You've got to give that. Otherwise, it's the whole purpose of growing, isn't it? It's adding value and passing it on.
Yeah, 100%.
Good. So let's touch on something else, because we were talking about before, and again, everything we touch on is just because I've come off this bloody conference and it's stuck in my head. But we were talking about the demographic of the office, or of offices at the moment, and how we attract young people into the industry, academies, and that kind of thing. And I mean, what's your opinion on it? Because I've got a strong opinion on how it has to look. But what do you think? What do you think needs to happen to kind of attract people?
Well, I think I start by saying I don't think I've got it right.
So few have,
Like, I really don't. What I would say, I don't know whether I mentioned this, but there's a firm in IPFA, firm called Mortgage Required, who are an incredible firm, and they have an academy, and they take and promote graduates, so university graduates, into the financial services profession. They bring them through. They've got a very strategic way of doing it. So they'll have an operating procedure of bringing someone in, and then all of the different places they can go from in their career.
Out of interest, are they working from home? Because I thought Mortgage Required were.
No, they absolutely will not do that. Absolutely.
So I don't know how that works.
They believe, and I have to say I agree with them. They believe that it's a collaborative space, but what they do is they look after these young people great. They listen to these young people. It forms how their business goes forward. I've got to say, the two directors who, the MD and then the director who sits underneath, all of the people I've ever met from this firm actually are all great fun, really down to earth, superbly driven. I'd do my mortgage there. Like, I would definitely do my mortgage with them.
Out of interest, what age are the directors?
Yeah, they're older. Not like not older. A little bit older than me. But just
interested, because it's the one sticking point that we have, and again, it came up at this conference, is that we don't know what motivates people younger than us. We think we do.
Yeah.
And that's been the sticking point for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. It's quite impressive, especially then if you've got people older just going, look, this is how we build an academy and this is what they want.
Yeah,
Because
I think
that's getting out of your own head and going, forget what I want, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, look, it's trial and error. But again, this mentorship, this is where this goes full circle, because, you know, I would never have known about this, or whether it was feasible or possible, or whether you could build a business through it. Like, you know, that's the main crux of it. But A, you build a business through it, and B, it feels great doing it. Right. So you've got the two things there. Like, if you're supporting new people into our industry, new lifeblood, and, you know, we talk about diversity and inclusivity, and I saw a thing yesterday where the industry were all sitting around, the same people sitting around the same room talking about D&I, not getting it right. But that's because no one's going to change, and no one's changing the input. If we change the input.
I thought something actually the other day. Jordan Peterson talked about it, and it's saying diversity, talking about the gender issue. And he said, but there's very little. An Oxbridge 60-year-old white man and an Oxbridge 60-year-old white woman have a very similar opinion. So you're not really diversifying in gender. It's about having someone younger in the business, you know, different backgrounds and that kind of thing. That's where the creative thinking comes from. Because all you end up with is the same people, just a man and a woman.
Yeah. Like, and it was always going to be. And I think as well, with an aging mortgage, you gave a stat. I think like the
27% of the workforce are going to be under 24 in 2 years' time.
I mean, that is just a madness.
I'll tell you what else we have to think about as well, and this is a serious thing, and we can't just think of it as a snowflake generation. 700,000 people are not joining the workforce next year because they're already signed off with anxiety about joining the workforce. Like, what are we doing wrong that make it look so shit?
Oh, it's so scary. It's so scary.
I mean, kids that age.
Yeah, growing up is crap. I will say that. Like, there is some element of growing up, but that's just a responsibility thing, and possibly us as parents. I mean, that's the deep thing, isn't it?
I think it has to be social media, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to take the accountability away from parents, because I let my kids go on social media all the time.
Yeah.
And when I came back from this conference, I said, if I could take one thing away, I would take away their phones.
Yeah.
Because
Me too.
it was all about how do you add value to your life, or how do you make the boat go faster was the
Yeah.
You know, like the old rowing thing.
Yeah.
Make the boat go. If it doesn't have value, don't do it. And they said if you genuinely cared and you genuinely only did stuff that had value, you would not be on your personal social media, because you never get off feeling good. But then these kids are looking at these people who are smashing it every day, and they've got these great jobs and they work an hour a day, and no wonder you get bloody anxious. You know what I mean?
There's a huge thing there. You know, look, we talk about first-time buyers as well, right? Our average age of our first-time buyers in our area down here is about 32 years old.
Yeah.
32, like, I mean, I can't even believe it, but they can't even get to it. But where are they before they're 32? Well, I definitely don't want my kids kicking around. I've just bought a caravan. I'm super excited to be out and about in that. And
one of mine told me the other day actually that he was staying at home till he's 25. I was like, you're not, mate.
Like,
the army is beckoning when you're 18.
but it really isn't real life until you're out there, and you've got to get up in the morning because you've got to pay that bill, right? And you've got to go and do that thing, and life is going to be tough, and you're not going to be able to have a BMW as your first car, and you know that Rolex that all your mates are wearing. That's because their parents have not put boundaries in place that won't, you know. So I think there's an element of that anxiety that we create, and then that social media enforces. I don't think that's wrong. So. But yeah, in terms of workforce, in terms of what we're going to do,
attracting people into financial services. Do you know?
Yeah, like I think, and also, like, one of the things that we say quite often in our business, and this is honest truth, is we're like, do we think they'll get taken seriously? So if I put a 17-year-old or a 19 or a 20-year-old in front of you to do your mortgage, would you go, you're a little bit wet behind the ears?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're not really experienced.
Well, you can't. It's very hard to build rapport. And I've cocked up that many times trying to get it right with young people, right? And I hold my hands up to it. I can build other people's businesses all day long, you know, because you spend 12 hours doing that a day. Don't you? You spend 20 minutes on your own. It's the nature of the beast. But yeah, they haven't got the rapport building stuff yet. Yeah. But they are going to be selling to people that also don't have that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Eventually, saying, what are you? Pick up the phone. We all pick up the phone. There's a rule here that we do not email bad news. We don't text. But actually, we get an amazing response from WhatsApp from people under 30.
Right.
So maybe we have to change the way we are communicating rather than just thinking everyone has to communicate the way we've always done it.
Yeah, I think that is so true. There's so much to learn. And we sit here going, we're probably part of the people who are like, okay, show us a different way. Like I would step forward into that, and maybe being, parents of a generation whose kids are coming into that now and communicating a different way, have very, very strong opinion. I don't know about your kids, but like my 16-year-old, her opinions are like, oh, like she's ready to work now. Like I'm so ready for her to come out there. But so I think we've got to keep listening and keep understanding what that future looks like. Not try and second guess it overly, and be really brave like we were when we were younger and ready to take on the world and knowing that we could. I guess we need to be brave in our decision making right now in terms of what does the future look like, and let's open our mind to what that possibility could be, lift the lid off of it and go, okay, could people communicate in a different way? Could AI help us anywhere? Like,
this is the issue with the communication side of things, is that if we do process stuff, then our jobs are gone by AI. And again, I did a 8-hour seminar on it the other day. I'm AI'd out. Like, I think the robots are going to take over tomorrow. Treat it like that. There's a thing on it, right? When he said by 2030, it's either going to be a human-dog relationship, but we're not the human, we're the dog, where AI pats us on the belly and tickles us and tells us all right, or it's going to be, because the AI is being built by AI, so we can't have any control over it, or it's going to be a human ant situation where it just goes, just going to stamp on you. And they can't tell you which one it's going to be. That is frightening.
I just get back to Terminator 2.
I know, Skynet, right? That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
Skynet. Oh my God.
But my point is, the one thing that we did discover on this thing, and this is what we do have to teach young people, that people skills are always going to be needed.
Yeah.
Because people don't come to me because I'm really process driven. They come to me because I can look them in the eye and say, it's going to be all right. We've done it. We helped other people. You need to do this, and you can't. I don't think you can process that. So, the more we try and push it towards the young people's way of communicating, the more we're kind of making their jobs obsolete as well. Because I think that shaky hand, look people in the eye, communication thing, is the job that's going to still be around.
Is there still, and this is what I cling on to, in the vain hope that there's still an emotional draw to use people like us, in both of our
scale. Finding your job, finding your partner, and finding your house are the three big decisions you make in your life, and they are the biggest emotional roller coaster you're ever going to have. Because everything else, you don't pick your kids,
and so. You can swipe right and swipe left, right? But you still got to turn up to the date. Like, it's not just done on the swipe, right?
Yeah. Genuinely, that rapport building, people skill stuff are the things that are going to keep us in a job.
Yeah.
So we do have to teach young people that as well. Because if there's somebody who goes, they don't want to talk like that, you go, cool, well, I've got a bot that'll do it.
But are we, again, and this is so deep, but are we guilty as parents of going, like, from a young age, right, there's your phone. Watch that. Do you know what I mean? And so
my first child wasn't allowed a phone until they were 13. The second one was 11. The third one was 10. My 8-year-old just got one.
Yeah, we were senior school. Like, I mean, but that's just the boundaries being shifted for us as parents, right? And the pressure that comes.
By the way, the older one now is absolutely fuming that the young one got one at 8.
So you moved your boundaries, like you just got to say that.
Yeah.
Inflation or deflation.
Don't worry about it. I tell them all that. But it's tricky, isn't it? Because we are doing something wrong. And I said that. I came off this seminar conferencing yesterday, and you feel a bit shit because you're like, you're setting them up to fail by letting them do all the stuff. But at the same time, are we doing it because it's lazy, or are we doing it because everyone does it, or is that just the way things are now?
I think it's one of those things that if enough of us think that it shouldn't be that way, then we shouldn't do it. And I sort of said this. I was at the Mortgage and Protection Senate last year, and we were sitting in a room where one of the lenders was saying, "Oh yeah, we're pumping millions into AI." And I'm like, why would you sit here with us as mortgage brokers and intermediaries telling us that you're pumping loads into AI? Like, what sort of a reaction are you looking for from us here? Like, do you want us to be like really happy with that? Or?
Well, this is the thing that I've learned about AI though, Jamie, is that it's not taking our jobs, it's making our jobs easier. So I make my most money when I'm out shaking hands, having lunches, doing strategy meetings. AI can't do that, but what it can do is take away all my back office, write the notes for this if we're in a client meeting, write the notes in the background, and from that it can write a job spec. So all the people that jobs are process copywriting, that kind of thing, it can do. But what it does do is it frees up 12 hours of my day where I can speak to people, and actually that is where I make my money. So I don't think it is going to take away some jobs, if you like.
And the decisions lay with us, right? And I'll go back to rugby and football, right, as prime examples. Rugby is a prime example, which I know you were a rugby man, weren't you? So
You're not seeing my teeth thing from the weekend.
Oh, brilliant, amazing! Yeah, never do those 7s and 10 tournaments, mate, in the summer. They're never good. Yeah. If you look at rugby, what rugby does is it's got 2 linesmen and 1 official, and what they do is they if they're unsure on a decision, they'll take a moment, they'll look at the decision, but they still make it. So the human interaction there's a guy, they all look at that guy or girl and say, sir or madam, and it's that person that's in charge, but they utilise the technology that they've got to formulate a decision. Like, let's get control of it. Each and every one of us, the banks, the building societies, the providers, everything. Let's use the technology, but let's be the people in control of it, as opposed to it controlling us. And only we get to change that. So that would be me.
Just so you know, by 2030, we're not in control of it.
No, I know. I do get that. You are scaring me a little bit, but hopefully I'll be off in my caravan.
I was going to throw my phone away.
I'll be off in my caravan still watching you. I'll come down, watch you play some rugby still, go, Marcus, mate, you can't do this anymore.
I'll be playing against robots anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you, Matt. I genuinely appreciate your time. I know we went off on a tangent there, but it is interesting because we do have to think about those things, right? We need to future-proof business, and that 100%. Involves bringing in young people, and it involves tech.
So, that's the crux of it, isn't it? So, relevant. Mate, thanks.
If people want to get hold of you, Jamie, whether they want to talk to you about kind of Affinity or particularly the IPFA side of things as well, so I know that's kind of poignant for you at the moment. How do they get hold of you? What's the best way? Obviously, all your socials will be on ours, but
I would say LinkedIn. Drop me a message on LinkedIn would probably be the easiest place. I'm on there more than not. You can definitely follow me there. Not that it's overly exciting, but I'm there.
If they mess up.
Absolutely, but no, and you know, in any of the other business parts, you know, if people want to work with us, then I'd love to hear from them. And thank you, thanks for having us on here.
That's no problem at all. A genuine pleasure, and thank you. It was short notice, and you jumped in, so I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
For anyone watching and listening, like I said, thank you for listening. And if you want to get hold of Jamie or myself, all of the information will be on all the socials, and we will take it from there. Thanks, Jamie. I'll speak to you soon.
Take care.
Cheers, mate.